Welcome to another episode of The Pursuit. I'm Pastor Rick. I'm joined here with Cookie Monster, Harper, Compton. I just want to say it, Harper, are you feeling that VBS hangover I'm feeling?
Yeah. We got the same feeling, right? The feeling of too much sleep.
Yeah. Yes, too much sleep.
Not enough sugar.
Not enough sugar. Healthy.
And kind of a dull, boring week.
Yeah, it's been kind of quiet. Yeah.
Same thing. Absolutely.
Every morning I'd have my bowl of milk and ibuprofen and go right back out for another day of VBS work. It was great. But we're excited about what God did at VBS here at Salem. So we want to jump right into The Pursuit. And as always, we have to do an icebreaker. So I think last time I opened it and you read, or I'm not sure how that works, but I'm just going to take it this time. Because we don't follow tradition here. All right, here we go. Start from the middle of the pack. Here we are. Your question.
Do you read all three, or do you just read one and go with it?
No, this is a good question right here, and you don't know what's coming. So here we go. What are three things? It's got to be three, apparently.
I think of three things.
What are three things that drive you nuts? Three things that drive you nuts.
Terrible drivers. Hold on.
Okay,
I got
this
these
is easy.
in queue.
Dude, this is
Terrible drivers.
Okay.
People who can't get over in the right lane. People who don't use their turn signal.
Gotcha.
People who can't tell if a green light is green.
So lack of courtesy. Discourteous drivers?
Of course, then I'm discourteous to them.
Let's just keep going.
Anyway.
We're not judging your sins here.
So, drivers, that annoys me.
Okay.
Number two, we'll come back to two. Number two would be the annoying laugh. The annoying laugh is very...
Okay.
That's very,
all right.
Just stop.
Okay.
I'll leave now.
All right.
And then number three would be people that mispronounce words. Like, you've been alive for how long now and still don't know how to say that word? Under what rock have you been living in?
Wow, that's pretty good. You had those ready.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know if it was VBS. Something prepped me for.
I think apparently it did. I think I would agree with you for number one, but I'm going to be more specific. For me, in driving, because you're right, all those driving issues.
Yeah.
But I'm guilty of all those, so rather than judge my sins too, I'm going to kind of just judge others.
Okay.
It's the people who, when you see a lane merge ahead, floor it and try to get in front of everybody else because they're saying, hey, we matter more. And that drives me nuts because my wife will tell you that's when I get into the middle. I start blocking all the lanes off. And, these are those moments you've thought about them that you're like, I could just keep going and just pull off on and just go. But yeah, it's one of those things. So I just kind of block those guys. That annoys me. It drives me nuts, I should say. When we order something from a place like IKEA or things like that, and something's missing.
Oh, yeah.
And it's like, you call the place. Well, if you'll just come back into the store, we'll give you that. I'm like, you're in Charlotte. Yeah. Can you just ship that to me? That'd be great. And then probably the third one is after I've assembled something, I find the extra piece. That annoys me. It drives me nuts because then it's like, do we need this? Let's see what happens. I'm sure it's fine. Well, take some time right now with your group, and this is pretty invasive, I would say, of your psyche. You're taking time to figure out what are three things that drive you nuts. Now, again, as Harper mentioned, one of his is the annoying laugh. I'm just kind of really feeling self-conscious about how I laugh, and we'll talk about it off camera. So if it's something that annoys you about somebody else in the group, don't name names. We're trying to build unity here. So take this time right now with your group to discuss this. Well, this week in Pastor Kivett's sermon series through Ephesians, we've been talking about the armor of God. The piece of the armor we focused on this week was the shoes. And again, as we talked about it, Pastor Kivett mentioned it, this was a brave sermon for him to preach, especially with his issues he deals with. He doesn't like feet. Have you sent your foot text to him yet?
No, I've never sent one.
I haven't either, and I feel like I've been left out.
Yeah.
Like apparently the way he said it was, this is like an epidemic that's happening.
Good.
So please stop if you're watching this video. That's so wrong.
Never.
But anyway, we talked about the shoes shod with the gospel of peace. And I want to focus this first question on that idea of the gospel of peace. Because I've read other people talking about this, that the idea of peace here is it's peace with God, which is a vertical peace. But it's also meant to be a peace that's horizontal with you and others, kind of like what it says in Romans chapter 5, where he says, now since you have been justified by faith, you have peace with God. or you have peace through that. This peace extends to others. So I thought I'd ask the question of how does, and ask our groups this, how does that peace we have with God, that vertical peace, how does that affect our horizontal relationships?
Yeah, because again, it kind of goes back to what the gospel is all about. You have been shown this great love, then you are responsible for showing that love to someone else. If you've been forgiven of such a great debt, why would you then go and hold someone to such a petty debt that they might owe you? And so it doesn't make sense, it doesn't correlate, and yet sometimes we do this in our relationships with not extending peace or not seeking to bring about peace.
Yeah.
And instead honestly, as humans, we like strife. Because part of that is, I'm right, you're wrong, right? We can't possibly say that we might be wrong. And so that's why I got married. But we know in a relationship, you've got to be able to have those discussions.
Right.
I'm not always right. You're not always right. We can compromise. Some things are preferences. Some things are this. And so how do we bring about peace? And so when we have that bigger picture of peace and what God has done for us, it helps us realize how small and petty these things are that we allow to get in between us. And especially today as we're taking communion, like we're talking about this, if we can't have peace with one another, we're not even to take part in communion. We need to take care of that first. That's such a huge deal.
Yeah. And you're mentioning a lot in the local church too. And I'm thinking this. With our icebreaker, we talked about 3 things that drive us nuts, and both of us had traffic stuff. And so now, when that person's going to cut me off when the lane drops, even though I'm in my mind, I'm thinking, oh, he or she thinks they're too important to wait in line. Yeah, that's me. That's me projecting a lot of things. And man, I've been forgiven much. I can let that go and let that slide. And
I wouldn't go that far.
Well, I think I'm going to have to go there. I'm going to let the word work in my heart. Yeah,
yes.
I'll do that. Well, take some time right now with your group to discuss this. How does your vertical relationship with God, that peace you have, also spill out into our horizontal relationships?
As Pastor Kivett talked in his sermon, he talked about how peace is so needed. As we talked about with our vertical, gotta get this right, vertical relationship with God, but then also horizontally with those around us. And he brought up some examples of just how there's enmity, there's strife, there's contention, and really peace is needed, peace is required because that hostility is so rampant.
Yeah.
And so because of that, how can we bring about peace to those around us? How can we show what the peace of God looks like in our lives and make it available for those around us? And so that kind of brings us to our question for your entire group.
Yeah.
Not just for you as individuals, but for your group as a whole. How can you extend the gospel of peace to those who do not yet know Christ?
Yeah, and we'd like for this to be more of a group project right now, to just be talking amongst yourselves. This could be something to the effect of evangelistic. So like there may be people a part of your group or not a part of your group, or neighbors that you really want to reach out to that you can invite into this. Remember, these groups aren't just getting around a video and talking about it. It could be just simply having a meal together. You could set down one group where you're just meeting together, having a meal together, enjoying one another's company, but you're inviting neighbors into the play too. It could mean that you commit as a group to be that peacemaker or the group of peacemakers when you see strife happening, as Pastor Kivett shared. But take some time right now, pause the video and discuss what are some ways you as a group could extend that gospel of peace in your sphere of influence. Well, again, in Pastor Kivett's sermon, he shared the concept of how we're all looking for peace. We're looking for this in some way. He mentioned some are looking at financial peace. We're looking at relational peace and what other things. And I thought what we do is take some time right now with groups. We hope you've been meeting for a number of weeks now. Some of you may be just starting to meet. This is a good time to get really authentic with one another. But sharing ways in which you yourself, what are some ways in which you're looking for peace, or what type of peace are you looking for? As I was listening to Pastor Kivett's sermon, he was naming off a couple things.
Yeah.
He mentioned financial peace, and I'm nodding because I'm thinking, yeah, we've all gone through this. It was kind of like every one of us has tried to experience this. Relational peace. If this would just work out, I'll feel peace.
Yeah.
He mentioned about people who worry a lot. And I thought, dude, you're looking right at me. because sometimes I worry about how much I'm worrying. And so, and I started thinking, well, what is it that I'm looking for? Why am I looking for all these things to satisfy?
Yeah. And he talked about kind of the enemy's two battles that they fight. And one is kind of, the first battle is chaos, and the second battle is a whisper. And so kind of thinking through that, there is the more visible, those things that kind of vie for our attention a lot more because they are very real and felt in the moment. But then there are also those times where it's the whispers, it's the internal instead of the external. And especially through this year, we know that the internal, not that it has changed, but that people have become more aware of some of those internal struggles, the mental and emotional health of how you're doing, because you don't have other things to distract you. And as he talked about that quote from Bill Anderson, if you want people to listen, whisper. And so oftentimes there is that inner voice, or even the enemy attempting to whisper. And again, what is your health like? What is that internal battle really like? What are you doing to actually fight that and be able to have peace?
Yeah, that's good. We'll take some time right now to get real with your group and discuss the ways in which you're looking for peace, or what types of peace that you're searching for. Well, thank you again for joining us on another episode of The Pursuit. You can watch previous episodes of The Pursuit by clicking the link provided on the screen.
And you can also watch past sermon videos by going through our page and finding those are on the screen. You can also subscribe to our page so you get notified as soon as we upload a video. And we hope to see you next time. We're going to close out our video with a high five.